Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Black Financial Channel. I want to talk about Kevin Samuels and Kevin Samuels finances. I think out of fairness and out of respect for the dead, we should be honest about these things. And so it turns out that there was some information revealed about this GoFundMe account that I think everybody should know. So get comfortable, buck up seatbelt. We're going to get started on the Black Financial Channel right now. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Black Financial Channel. That's theblackfinancialchannel.com. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm your friendly neighborhood finance professor. On the Black Financial Channel, we talk about Black wealth and Black economics every single day, sometimes as much as 10 times a day, under one condition. The condition is that we are Black first. Black first means we put our community at the top of our priority list. Black first means we love the Black family. Black first means we love the Black woman and the Black man. Black first means that we build the Black community. Black first means we educate our kids. If you agree with this philosophy, put a hashtag B and the number one in the chat, hashtag B1 in the chat. So anyway, before I get started, let me just I want y'all to know that all the people that are not trying to be intelligent Black people are going to have to be removed from the chat. So if you come in here, again, if you're going to be an idiot, be a quiet idiot, because if you're a loud idiot, I'm going to have to remove you from the classroom, because I only want intelligent, decent Black people here that want fairness and support for the community. So anybody that comes in that makes ridiculous comments, just keep them to yourself, man. Just keep them to yourself. Just be quiet. Just sit in the corner and be quiet and learn as the intelligent Black people teach you what it means to be Black. So anyway, guys, let me just move on from that and say this. Look, Kevin Samuels, the reason I'm doing this quick little conversation is because somebody sent me something about Kevin Samuels and this GoFundMe account. I mentioned to you guys in the podcast last week that I was really suspicious of the GoFundMe. I didn't understand where it was coming from. It just seemed kind of strange, and I didn't run with that. I didn't believe anybody should run with that narrative, with either narrative. I didn't feel that people should run with the narrative that the GoFundMe was real. I didn't believe people should go with the narrative that the GoFundMe was fake. Well, it turns out, according to Complex Magazine, that the GoFundMe was completely fake, that it was made up by an imposter, that somebody just threw it up there to try to make Kevin Samuels look like he was destitute. Now, here's what's interesting. This is what the interesting part of this. And I think it's interesting to talk about Kevin because he's one of the more intriguing characters that I've seen. He's really worth talking about because he was a pretty intelligent guy, but yet he was also a guy that ruffled a lot of feathers and said a lot of things that you can really debate. You can really debate, logically debate, and disagree with some of the things Kevin said or some of the ways he said it. I've told you guys about this. I told you guys, for example, about the hypocrisy of being a high-value man when you're 57 years old and you ain't even married, and but you're telling women this is how you can marry a high-value man like me, when the reality is that even if you become this high-value woman and the high-value man wants you, he probably isn't going to marry you. So the question is, what's the point? Why would I try to become a high-value woman to appeal to a quote-unquote high-value man, whatever that is, if the high-value man isn't interested in getting married? That's that is a contradiction. That's a contradiction. Intelligent people can see this, and still you can still love Kevin or hate him, whatever you want. But I think that fairness is called for. The other thing that I thought was really patently unfair in this whole gender war that was sort of stimulated by the life and death of Kevin was people that went to the other direction. You know, Jamal Bryant, the pastor, is a guy that I met. I talked to him extensively when we were in Ghana together, and I really liked Jamal a lot. It was my first time meeting him. He's very respectful. He's very intelligent, but I did not agree with Jamal when he went hard at Kevin and went and got on the pulpit and said that he had a GoFundMe. I think that Jamal should have taken the time to verify that. I think that Jamal himself he's a smart guy. I believe that he knew that it was wrong. The reason that I think is fascinating, though, what I'm seeing there in terms of Jamal jumping the gun and grabbing this GoFundMe narrative is because that's what tends to happen when something is heavily political. I've noticed, if you pay attention in politics, there's a lot of liars or a lot of lying. I'm not going to call Jamal a liar. I'm going to say lying. A lot of lying that happens in politics. A lot of mudslinging, right? The Democrats can't explain why they're better than the Republicans. All they can do, or they can't explain why they're better than anybody. All they can do is tell you what's wrong with the Republicans. The Republicans can't tell you what they're going to do for Black people. All they can do is tell you what's wrong with the Democrats. So the mudslinging kind of took place when it came to the Kevin Samuels thing, and it became really interesting to watch because I saw people lying on both sides. So on one hand, I saw, in case you want to know where I stand in terms of Kevin, which really isn't that important. What matters is your own opinion. But my perspective is that I think you have to hear everybody. I think that you have to hear the 1.4 million people that subscribe to Kevin's channel. I think that was a cry out, a cry for attention, or a cry for help from millions of people, mostly black men, who don't feel listened to. And those who just think it was just a bunch of guys just trying to be sexist jerks, I think that you were kind of missing it, because there were certain things that Kevin said that people wanted men to be able to say. I think that you live in a society that wants America, particularly Black America, to be very feminized. And Kevin came forward with sometimes very traditional narratives that were somewhat old school, but I would listen to it and I'd say, yeah, actually, he's right about that. Oh, he's right about that. He did a whole video about me. And I said, this is the only guy I've ever seen on the internet explain certain things in a way where I say I give my stamp of approval to his explanation and his analysis, because he's exactly on point. He was an intelligent person. And so with that said, but I didn't watch the whole video. I only saw some of it. And the part that I saw, because I told you guys I don't watch videos on the internet about me. And also, if you're in the comments making weird comments about me, I'm not usually going to see your comments. If I see you, just hope I don't see you, because if I see you, I'm going to have to remove you. But for the most part, you can't worry about what your critics have to say, really. I mean, you hear it, but you don't really get caught up in that, because sometimes people are just emotional and weird. And so ultimately, you have this emotional weirdness that occurs in the Kevin Samuels debate that I can't really relate to. I can't relate to the people who literally act like he had nothing good to say, like nothing that came out of his mouth was worth listening to. Because unfortunately, sometimes what happens is that you're fitting the description. You fit the category of the types of women that men run into, that feel like they can't do no wrong, that their shit don't stink. They don't want to be corrected by nobody. They think that everything they're doing is right. And you've been told by the world that the black man is flawed. You've been told by the world that you don't have a husband because black men are messed up. You've been told by the world that you're doing everything right, and that it's all the 10 men that you met in the last year that were doing everything wrong. Well, that's not healthy advice. Just Uncle Boy's perspective, I hope it's okay for me to share that. The Uncle Boy's perspective says, if you have a bunch of friends around you that are telling you that everything you do is perfect, then those are not your friends. Those are not people that are going to make you better. Those are not people that are going to make you better at all. But here's the other thing too, and I hope brothers will hear me on this, because y'all know I've gone hard for the black man for 25 years. That's never going to change. And I had to confront some men in the so-called manosphere about some of this stuff, this anti-woman energy. This anti-woman energy is very feminine energy. It's very weak energy. It's very anti-family energy, and it's very anti-black energy. Because I told you all that if you are a real black man, you will never, ever disrespect the essence and the existence of the black woman. If you say something, just say that shit with respect. Say it in a way where you're like, look, sister, I love you. But because I love you, I'm going to give you a perspective. You can take it or leave it. Here's what I think, right? I didn't really get that feeling from some of the analysis I saw Kevin do. I saw him really make some women feel really bad. I mean, I don't know if anybody in here understands like what it's like to hear somebody tell you that you're going to die alone because you didn't take their advice. But that's, first of all, that's mean. And second of all, it's arrogant as shit. Arrogant as shit. I mean, and then what happens is that then your critics can come back and say, well, ha, you died alone. You died in the arms of a woman you met 24 hours earlier. That's kind of like dying alone. You died in the arms of a stranger. I want to die in the arms of my wife, one of my kids. I was surrounded by family. I don't want to be laying down with some lady that I just met yesterday. I'm 57 years old. That maybe if I'm 27, it makes sense. But at 57, maybe you don't want to be a player no more. I don't want to be a player. Like 57, it's hard to be a player at 57. You got to keep the Viagra on deck. You're gonna have to worry about having. And there was a good movie that Jack Nicklaus was in called As Good as It Gets. I believe that was what it's called. Anybody else see that movie? It's called As Good as It Gets. And it was about an old guy who was an old player who was like 65 years old, and he was like, ain't no woman never gonna tie me down. Ain't no woman gonna tie me down and he's dating these 25, 30-year-olds who are all sucking him up for his money. They don't really care nothing about him. And then what happens is one day he gets a heart attack. Then the little 25-year-old runs off. She's like, I ain't got time for your old raggedy ass. And it was the older woman who took care of him. It was Diane Keaton's character. She was in her 60s. And she was the one that said, look, because I'm a certain age, that doesn't mean I've lost my value. That's the point. I kind of hope people will hear this. I'm not telling you to change your opinion. Just consider what I'm saying. How would you feel as men? Seriously, men. The luxury that we have as men is that there is no age where you don't have value to the world. In fact, we do age like wine. I became much more attractive when I was 40 years old and almost a millionaire at that point. After that, I became a millionaire. I became much more handsome. My jokes became funnier. I had girls coming at me that really might not have paid attention to me when I was struggling in grad school and could barely pay the rent. Right. But my wife knew me when I was struggling in grad school and could barely pay the rent. So maybe that's the ROI she gets for really loving me as a person. That's the problem. When you start making money and you start becoming successful, you don't know why those people want you. And when you live in a world where people are making these very narrow-minded judgments of high value and low value, right? Like, oh, she's high value because she looks good. What else? Oh, she looks good and she knows how to keep her mouth shut. She's feminine and she looks good. But maybe there's more to being high value, or a man is high value because he has money. I really think you're missing 90% of what it really means for two human beings to be truly connected in a relevant and meaningful long-term sort of way. And the evidence that even Kevin missed that mark is the fact that Kevin didn't stay married. He got divorced twice. He also wasn't married at the age of 57. In 3 years, he was going to be a 60-year-old single man teaching Black people how to have relationships, which explains why Black people can't have healthy relationships in some contexts. Maybe that explains why your marriages don't last. Maybe that explains why you got baby mama-itis everywhere. Maybe that explains why your men don't come through for the children. Because the men run away from the children. The narrative of, not all men, I'm not talking about all men. I don't want to over-exaggerate here. But, when you have men that literally are saying, well, if you are a single mother, I'm not going to touch you, because that means you was a raggedy hoe and you got with some other man and I'm not taking care of some other man's kids. That's a really, really weird and selfish way to think. And it's interesting when those words are coming out of the mouth of a man who was raised by a single mother. Like, you were raised by, many of these guys were raised by single mothers. And it's almost like a type of self-hate, because it makes me wonder, was it that you felt when you were little that you weren't worth any man's time, because your father had something else to do? So you feel that you want to continue your father's tradition of just not giving a shit about any child anywhere at any time. I don't think that's good energy, Black people. And I really encourage you to reconsider a blanket acceptance of what anybody has to say. Even somebody like me, I don't want you to agree with everything that I say. A lot of you disagree. A lot of you will say, Doc, I like a lot of what you say, but I disagree with some of it. And I say, of course, you're supposed to do that. That tells me that your brain is working. If you agree with every single thing somebody says, that means you probably want to work harder on critical thinking. So anybody that defends every single thing that Kevin said, you're a little suspect to me. You're suspect because that tells me that you're not carefully dissecting the strengths and weaknesses of the argument. Like I can show you on the screen. I want you to go look. I told you guys, a lot of people said, well, no, Doc, Kevin, before he died, he wasn't talking just about the women. He also criticized the men too. And I said, well, show me. And I said, if you look at the last 10 videos on that channel, see, Kevin Samuels was a guy who had a very broad range of topics he could discuss. If you go back and look at Kevin's content 4 years ago, he looked different. He sounded different. He spoke more broadly. He did speak about men. He would talk to men about great things like you have to dress a certain way. Make sure you smell good. Make sure your breath don't stink. Make sure you approach a woman. So he did all of that. And that was beautiful information. I love that. But then what happened was he did what a lot of YouTubers do. Him and Kwame Brown had the same experience where they were chugging along, making tons and tons of videos, doing okay. And then suddenly, boom, they hit the sweet spot and they take off. For Kwame, it was attacking. Like, he was attacking everybody on ESPN, attacking everybody over here, attacking everybody over there. He even attacked me. I think he did 12 videos about me. I never watched any of them. And that was his thing, right? That became his thing. That's what blew his channel up. Well, Kevin, what happened with Kevin was Kevin realized that when he told that lady she was going to die alone, oh, that's the video that finally got me the traction that I wanted. So what Kevin did was, if you look at the video trend, look at the sequence, you'll notice I don't watch a lot of videos, but I look at the titles and I look at just kind of thumbnails and just kind of how people are doing things. And I noticed that Die Alone is in the title of several videos because he knew that that would appear in the algorithm, that the words Die Alone, people look up the word Die Alone and they will find his channel, they would find his videos. And so ultimately, the thing was that the Black woman became kind of this interesting stepping stone to the extreme popularity of the channel. Once it was like, oh, if I get a woman on here, if I bring in a woman of the week and I beat her down and I cut her off and put her in her place and all that, and help men get their frustration out, right? Because they're mad, right? Got a lot of guys are mad. A lot of guys are mad because their baby mama took the child away. They mad because their mama didn't treat them right growing up. They're mad because the woman that they don't want nothing to do with them. They mad because some chick cheated on them, right? So when they see that they see that guy kind of going in and being like, no, you be quiet, right? They're like, yeah, tell him, man, tell him, yeah, that's right, right? And so really what it probably says is that you may need some therapy. You may need actually some therapy to show you what it really means to truly love a woman, to know how to love a woman. A lot of times, if you're not getting what you want out of life and you're frustrated by that, it's probably because you're not doing something right? And it's not beneficial to you to in any way be in a context where everything that's wrong in your life starts off with you talking about what somebody else did or what somebody else didn't do. Every single thing in your life needs to start with you. That's what manhood looks like. That's what accountability looks like. Accountability is where you say, okay, I'm doing something wrong here. What do I need to do better? And if you can't start the conversation there, that could mean that you've been given some sort of a crutch. I'll give you an example. I knew a guy who was just a terrible husband. I mean, I knew his wife, poor guy. This is a long time ago when I was a little kid and I watched all this. And his wife, I mean, he was out drinking and smoking and using and womanizing and all that, and coming home, whenever he felt like it and all that. And his wife tried her best to try to figure it out, but eventually she just bounced out of it. And I remember listening to his mother, the man's mother, talk about his behavior. And I remember even at the age of 12, I would hear his mother say, well, the reason that he goes out and drinks all night with those women is because she's always on his back, or because she did this, or because she did that. Now, mind you, women do have power. Women, ladies, you do have the power. Like your tongue, you get in our soul, you have the ability to really chew at a man's soul and to frustrate a man and get him out of character. So never underestimate your power. We know women are not innocent victims, but I remember even thinking at the age of 12, like, wow, that's amazing that this guy is a complete bum. He's rejected his children. He's completely irresponsible, but yet his mother always finds a reason to blame it on somebody else. And so you have some cases where men are raised like baby boys, like baby boy, like anything you do wrong, it ain't your fault. It's that hoe's fault. She got pregnant because she a gold digging bitch. And I'm gonna tell you one thing I didn't agree with also was being in you will never in 10 billion years ever hear that Boyce Watkins is in a Future video, the rapper Future. Kevin, I think Kevin was in Future's video before he died. I would not consider that to be an honor to be invited into Future's video. I would absolutely, positively, 100% say no. If he wanted to sit down and listen to me and have me talk to him about some of the concerns that I have about what image he presents to the world by having a bunch of kids with a bunch of women, abusing women and all this other stuff, I would talk to him about that. I would probably give him credit. I'd say, you're a brilliant artist, but the way you're using your power is absolutely disrespectful to the community and very harmful to people. You're harming children, you're harming women, you're harming all the people that trust you. When you get the luck or the opportunity to be positioned as a king in your community, a king has responsibility. A king should be a servant leader. When a king becomes an arrogant leader, where you're beating down and chastising everybody, that's not a good king. Eventually that kingdom crumbles. And so I'm going to just say overall, you can say a lot of things about Kevin. You could disagree or agree, but I think that if you're going to disagree, I think you should disagree with facts. And I also think that those of you that are stans and, little fanboys that just kind of believe every single thing that he said, I would encourage you not to get in that category. Get off his nuts. Just get off his nuts. Just say, hey, you know what? That brother told me some stuff that really helped me tighten up my game. Some stuff I'm not going to do, though, because as a man, I realize, yes, sure, women are hurt. Women can be hurtful, but I'm going to take responsibility as a man to know that ultimately in my relationships, I'm in charge. If women are not getting me whatever, I'm not going to sit around, run around complaining about women having standards that are too high. Oh, no, I'm going to meet the goddamn standard. You got to learn how to meet a standard. If you don't meet the standard, then go find a woman with a lower standard. If every time you apply for a job and they say, well, our standard here is that you got to work 50 hours a week, don't sit and complain that they want 50 hours a week. Or what you gonna do? Sit on the front with a picket sign? You're asking us to work too much. This is too hard. No, just go find a different job. Find a job that'll let you work 20 hours a week. Cool. There's plenty of women that will let you proceed in whatever method you want to proceed. But if you're bringing nothing to the table, if you've never spent one single second even learning what might appeal to a woman in a positive way, if you haven't spent one single second learning how to at least respect the mind of a woman and knowing all the different ways to connect to a woman that doesn't involve her vagina, then you're going to miss the whole boat. You're going to miss the whole boat. There are black women out here that love you. There are black women out here that will put up with all of your shit. There are black women out here that stand by us through rain, sleet, snow, and hell, thick and thin. Starting with your damn mama. Your mama was one of these women, your mama might have been one of these women that was put in that low value woman category. And I'll be damned if you're going to disrespect my mama. So when I look at the black woman, whether I agree with her or not, and there are plenty of black women I disagree with. I told y'all what I think about even the record labels that promote Lizzo. I don't like seeing a black woman go into a Lakers game with her ass out in front of children. I think that's highly inappropriate. And people call me a sexist for it or whatever. I don't give a shit. No, you don't do that. That's nasty. You got diseases on your ass. Stop that. Dress like a damn human being. Stop letting those white people make you into a clown. I stand by that. But the thing about it is, even in the midst of all that, if Lizzo ever wanted to call me and say, Doc, you were really mean to me. You hurt my feelings. Why would you hurt me? I would say, no, sweet, I'm not here to hurt you. In fact, I'm old enough to be your father. I'm here doing for you what I wish your father had done for you, because I can tell by your behavior that you probably don't have a father that loves you enough to tell you that you're devaluing yourself and devaluing your community by going out and letting those white folks pay you money to behave like a Mammy Jezebel. You are better than that. You can sing your ass off. You're incredibly good. You got a lot of talent. Use your talent. You ain't got to always lead vagina first. So that's where I stand on a lot of this stuff. So that's what Kevin and I do have in common is I think that in our own way, we both had kind of a desire to make the black man's voice heard. Not every black man's voice is going to sound the same. And so what I would encourage you to do is listen to all different voices from all different perspectives so you can find your own voice. But don't be tempted. When you get into hero worship, no matter who it is, if you can't critique your heroes, then that means you got to work on your critical thinking skill. My greatest heroes of all time were Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X. But if I were to really tell you my critiques of both of those guys and how they lived their lives, what got Malcolm killed, what brought Muhammad Ali down, if I were to break down all the concerns about the life of Malcolm that I didn't like, you would really think I wasn't a fan of Malcolm. You would think, oh my God, Dr. Boyce can't stand Malcolm X. But I told you, him and Ali are my number one and number two of all time. In fact, Layla Ali, I'm hoping I can get Layla Ali to come to the convention because I love Layla Ali. I love her father. I love her family. But at the same time, I learned a long time ago that if you're a young man and you get to the point where you look at another man and you can't find any flaws in what he's doing, or you agree with everything he says, or you want to follow in his footsteps exactly, you are making yourself vulnerable. You're setting yourself up to get used. You're setting yourself up to get pimped. You're setting yourself up for failure because you must, as a man, gain the ability to define your own pathway through life. Don't let an internet personality tell you how you're going to deal with the woman you love. He'll have that woman walking out the door and he ain't going to give a damn. People will give you bad advice all day long and then forget that they even gave you the advice. They'll act like they never said nothing. They'll act like they never even told, oh, I didn't tell you that. I didn't tell you to do all that. No, but you did. You told me that if a woman said that to me, I wouldn't be taking that from no hoe. You better put that hoe in her place. Because what kind of man are you? You a simp, dog. You a simp. And next thing you know, you come home talking that crazy shit because you never had a grandfather explain to you what it means to love a woman for a long period of time. And next thing you know, your woman is you are here crying on YouTube because your woman is sucking some other man's penis because you never even took the time to even act like you gave a damn about her. That is what happens to guys who don't learn how to think for themselves. So just get your own brain. That's what I'm saying. Get your own mind. And if women in general, if there are black women that bother you, pick a different one. Pick a different one. There's so many women and men are different. The best thing I ever did in my life was in 2001. I read a book by Dr. Barbara DeAngelis, a white lady actually, called What Women Want Men to Know. And this book took you into the brain of a woman to understand women and how they think. It was literally like the Twilight Zone. It was literally the weirdest book I've ever read. And I remember reading it and thinking, there is no way that women think this way. And I would call my female friends and I would say, okay, she gave a list of 20 things that turn women off. And I read the list and my friend would be like, oh yeah, that's gross. Oh God, no. Oh yeah, that's a definite turn. And I'll be like, what is it about ice cream? It would be weird. It was the weirdest thing ever, but I learned so much. I learned that basically I don't think men and women are really ever gonna really truly understand each other to the core. I think that the best thing you're able to do is be open-minded enough to just accept the fact that someone sees the world differently from you and to respect that, And so if you get into this whole high value conversation, I'm a little different from my wife. My wife, who's a relationship therapist, she believes that there is no such thing as high value and low value men and women. She believes that there's no such thing as a high value man or low value, no such thing as a high value woman or low value woman. And I can get where she's coming from, but I kind of, in my world, in my scale, there is such a thing. There are women that I met where I said, you know what? I think you're the prettiest thing in the world, but I wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole. That would be my definition of low value. Maybe she was high value for somebody else. Maybe there's somebody else out there that thinks she's the greatest, but ultimately, it looks like my camera went off. But ultimately, you're not the type for me. And so I also think that in terms of men, I think that when you're talking about getting what you want and getting the opposite sex to respond to you in a certain way, I think there are things you can learn and basic concepts like, reciprocity, being a decent person. Reciprocity means I do something nice for you, you're going to want to do something nice for me. The idea that somehow I have to be mean to you to get you to become attracted to me, right there should be a warning sign that we're starting down a bad cycle, because there are some women out there who will only respond to a guy if he treats her poorly. That to me is a signal that she's not a mature woman. And number two, maybe her father was like that. Maybe her father abandoned her and she just thinks that's what men do. And that's what she chases because she's ultimately chasing her father. I think it was a book that was called My Father Was My First Boyfriend. And I really would say that that relationship with the opposite sex parent is one that you really want to dissect and analyze to understand how your relationship with a woman or a man is going to go. I would really say that ultimately also goals are really important. So just going back to the whole Kevin Samuels conversation, that high value, low value stuff was interesting to me because I was like, what is the goal here? What is the goal? Is the goal to get a hookup and get some sex? Is the goal to have a relationship? Is the goal to get married and stay married? Like, what is the goal? Because Kevin wasn't married that long. He was married for a few years and then he got divorced. He wasn't married at the time he was giving his advice. So maybe the goal was for him to be an image consultant, which is, this is how you can look. This is what you can say. This is what you can do to attract a woman, or for women that wanted to listen. This is what you can do to attract a certain kind of man. So, so ultimately I would say, in terms of the money part, the fact that the GoFundMe was fake, that again, I wasn't surprised by that. I felt like Kevin probably had money because those Gucci like watches and whatever he was wearing, all that fancy stuff costs money, right? And also, I didn't get the sense that he was broke. When you have a YouTube channel that's that big, you're probably going to make at least $20,000-$30,000 a month. However, I wouldn't go so far as to make the assumption that he was worth millions of dollars. And the reason I would say that is because he wasn't that big that long. He was only big for about a year and a half, maybe a year and a half. So it wasn't as if Kevin was a guy who's had a million subscribers for 20 years or 10 years. He was a guy that had a million subscribers for about a year, right? So it takes time to accumulate wealth. Wealth is an accumulation process that typically takes time. So, if you live under the assumption that Kevin probably had a lot of stuff going on, that he was getting paid for speeches or whatever, then maybe there was some money there. But don't make the assumption that he was just automatically rich, because Black people also often make the mistake of assuming that because somebody's famous, they must also be rich. That is a bad assumption, because the amount of wealth you have is not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you keep and how much money you grow. So if you have a certain amount of wealth and you or income, if your income is $10 million a year, but you're spending $11 million a year, then you are not wealthy. You are poorer than a homeless person. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can make $10 million a year and be broker than a homeless person. So again, I don't know if Kevin was in this category. I don't know what his assets look like. I don't know all of that. I'm not, that's what it is. But I will say that in terms of your own education, sometimes Black people, because we get into a lot of celebrity worship, or we believe celebrities are perfect, we tend to forget a lot of the celebrities that you see. A lot of rappers don't have any money. They all their money is owed to the record label. Your cousin who got that real good job that went to Harvard, sometimes they don't have any money because they don't even know how to make money, really. All they know how to do is go get a job in many cases, and they probably have $300,000 or $400,000 in student loans. That actor in Hollywood that you saw on your favorite TV show, a lot of them don't have any money because a lot of them live unbelievably extravagant lifestyles where they need that next movie deal in order to simply pay the mortgage. So don't sit around and so any guy who's running around, or woman who's saying, no, I know Kevin Samuels had money. I know he had money. No, you don't. You don't know. You know about as much as the people who are saying he's broke. You don't know anything about where that man's financial situation was, nor is that really a matter of public discourse, really. I mean, nobody really knows exactly where his money was. The only thing you can speak on intelligently and honestly, in my opinion, is what you agree with and disagree with in terms of what he said. And here's the deal. Look, I know how people feel about it. And another thing I know about Black people is I know Black people are very emotional. So speaking about a dead person is going to drill up a lot of emotions. A lot of amens from people that hated Kevin, a lot of fuck yous from people that loved him. I want to talk to the people that want to really understand things. Those are the people that I like talking to. So, the funny thing is, like, when you jump in a topic like this, you end up losing some followers. I lose support from some men who have a different view of masculinity than me. And I think that's okay. I think I really encourage them to not be my follower, because I'm not going to lead you down a path that I don't think is ethically correct. Or I might lose women for the same reason. Women who think that because I said something about Lizzo, that somehow I must hate all Black women. And the people that I like talking to is about maybe 20 or 30% of the community, maybe 10% even, maybe 10 or 20%, that really understand that if you don't change your thinking as Black people, you're probably going to keep losing. You lose as a community because of the shit that I see every time a celebrity dies. You put them on a pedestal that they can't be taken off of. I saw that with Whitney Houston. When I saw Whitney Houston's death, I said, man, there you go. Drugs did it again. When are Black people going to reflect on drugs? And when are we going to form our plan and policy on how we as a community are going to deal with drugs? I mean, how many millions of Black families have to be destroyed over drugs? How many Black men got to go to prison over drugs? How many Black mothers got to get addicted to drugs before you say, you know what, no more? We're not tolerating this. And because the thing is that Whitney's death, which was very predictable, by the way, because she was kind of headed downhill before she died, that was a learning point. That's an opportunity for you to sit down with your child and say, look, this is what is going on. If you get involved with drugs, this is what's going to happen to you. That's what my father taught me. And so, I would just encourage anybody, you got to get away from that culture that somehow thinks that people's shit doesn't stink. It's real weird. Because a white person puts somebody on TV, or if they become a little bit famous, or because you want to fit in and be in with the cool crowd, people will just go along with things. And I'm like, that's to your detriment. That is not to your benefit. As a black person, it is essential that you learn how to become an independent thinker. So again, if you're a person who hates every single thing that Kevin Samuels had to say, I encourage you to back that up with some facts and information. Don't just run with propaganda. Jamal Bryant was wrong. Jamal's my friend. He'll probably never speak to me again because if he sees his video, but I don't care. I like Jamal, but you're wrong. Stop saying the guy had a GoFundMe account. He didn't. That wasn't true, and you shouldn't have said it on the pulpit. You should have just made your point to say that there is a way to challenge black women without being disrespectful, and that's where we disagree. At the same time, for the people that were just on Kevin's nuts to the point where they feel like he can do no wrong, I would just say be a man. Get off that. Get off. Don't A man should never be on another man's testicles like that. Like I honor Dr. Claude Anderson. That's probably the closest thing you'll see to me. Like you would probably think I'm on his nuts. But at the end of the day, if you think I sit around and look at every inch of Dr. Anderson's life and agree with every single thing he's ever done, every single thing he's ever said, no, I don't. Because I'm looking at him and I'm saying, okay, that's a great template. But when I write my story, I need to change a couple of lines in the song to make it sound exactly the way I want it to sound. So I don't look at Dr. Anderson's life, even Dr. Colleen, and y'all know how much I love this man. He's like a father to me. But I don't put him on a pedestal of perfection. You're not doing yourself a favor. And you also, as a man, when you put another man on a pedestal like that, you set yourself up to be exploited or manipulated. I think that's what happened with some of the prominent people in Black history. I'm not going to talk about who it is in particular. You might be able to figure it out. But I really think that critical thinking is really important, and I encourage you to consider doing that. And for those who can't do that, then that's okay. This may not be the place for you, but this is a place where we speak truth, and this is a place where we seek to grow intellectually, and also this is a place where I'm going to love Black women. So if you have an issue with Black women, I would almost say just straight up, keep the Black woman's name out your mouth unless you have a way to say it that's respectful. If you get to the point where you start dissing women on a regular basis and all that, you're only revealing yourself to be less of a man, not more of a man. And you're also revealing yourself to be about as anti-Black as that guy that went in that grocery store and hurt those people. That you're literally destroying the Black family. You're shitting on your women. You're acting like being a single mother, which is one of the hardest fucking jobs ever. A lot of these dudes that crap on single mothers couldn't survive 1 week in the shoes of a single mother. And the saddest part is that these dudes, when they was little raggedy ass, ashy little kids with snot coming out their nose, it was probably a single mother that took care of their little ass when nobody else did. Their own daddy didn't even want to be around. So why would you ever want to imitate your daddy? If your daddy was a piece of shit, like my daddy wasn't exactly a model citizen, I'm not gonna call my daddy a piece of shit. I'm gonna be respectful. But my biological father never really stood up to me in my mind as a man. I never looked at him and said, yeah, that's a guy I want to be like. I looked at him and said, I don't want to be nothing like this dude. How can this guy, he got my mom pregnant. I never saw the dude. Never knew him, met him once. Who the hell does that? And my mother was the one who took care of me when I had nobody. Nobody. That to me that makes her a goddess forever. I don't care. My mama could be like Tupac said, "Mama, even when you was a crack fiend, you was still a Black queen." Remember that? Like that's how I feel about my mom. If my mama had been a crack fiend, she still would have been my Black queen, because you can't get more loyalty than you get from a person who takes care of you when no one else does. Like when you have nothing, So I just really think as a community, why don't we just sort of have a better conversation in general when it comes to relationships? Why don't we learn how to just say, you know what, Black women, for the crazy Black feminists that just hate Black men because they really hate their daddy. That's what they really hate their fathers, but they claim to hate men. They claim to be mad at men, and men ain't meeting the standard and all that. But you ain't met no standard in your life, except maybe you got a master's degree and you think that makes you a hot catch, right? But you got those women that will attack Black men all day, but really they hate their father. How about, hey, why can't you come up and say, you know what, Black men, I really love you, I honor you, I support you, but here's some things that you do that really hurt me, and I really wish you would kind of challenge some of this. I wish you would stop doing that, or I wish we could change this part of your culture. Like that's the kind of woman that a man will listen to, right? But if you're talking about like a black feminist who goes along with whatever the Democratic Party says about black men, and you get, they're standing next to Joe Biden talking about black men ain't this and black men ain't that, while you dragging along your white husband. That's not the way to do it. That's not going to get a good response from any of us. And I think the same thing is true for men. I think that there should be spaces where men, and I would say men like me, because I'm in that category, where, sometimes you say, gosh, I love black women. I really love y'all. But some of the stuff that I see is just not, it doesn't make me comfortable. And some stuff you can do, some stuff I don't care about, but I'm never going to sit here and see a lady that's like wearing a hair bonnet and bunny slippers and being loud at the airport and say, yeah, that's my black queen. You're not a queen to me. Women like Akilani Honda, those are queens. She honors black men. She respects black men. Vicky Dillard, I worked with Vicky for many years. Vicky Dillard is a queen to me because Vicky really honors the black man in tremendous ways. And I love Vicky. I love her to the ends of the earth. So there are ways that you have to speak to a man. And what's missing in our society is we have everybody in the world teaching black men how you're supposed to talk to a woman. I grew up with my father saying, no, you don't say that to a woman. No, if you talk to a woman, here's how you're supposed to address it. Women are sensitive. You got to be careful. You got to say it differently. Whatever. I have women around me that I work with who will say, no, boys, the way you said that sounded kind of harsh, right? I hear that all the time. I don't hear a lot of spaces where women are being told how to talk to a man. And because what they do is the white liberals will tell you, oh, that's sexist. How dare he tell you how to talk? He don't have no right to control you and tell you nothing, right? Well, that can turn you into an asshole. Like no man, I'm sure there's a lot of high quality men that are in the room, solid men. Maybe you're married, maybe you're not, maybe you got kids, you're raising kids, you're trying to be intelligent, you're going to school, you got your degree, whatever. But quality, high value, quote unquote, high value, high quality men, right, that are in this room right now who will confirm to me in the chat that if you see a lady that is expressing her independent womanhood by being the loudest person in the room, talking over other people and being disrespectful, a lot of times guys like that, in my experience, they're not even going to say anything. They're just going to walk away and just be like, okay, whatever. They're just going to be like, okay, whatever. I'm going to leave her to the streets, or they might mess with you. They might want to sleep with you, but they're not going to want to take you seriously. They're not going to want to marry you. Why would you want to marry somebody who's going to cause you nothing but stress? Why would you want to commit your life and all your money and your resources and your time and energy to somebody who's going to get on your every last nerve? And so I would say to women, I gave advice to a young lady not too long ago in her 20s. She called me and she said, hey, Uncle Boyce, I need some advice about a guy. And I don't even know how people would feel about some of the advice I gave her. I gave her the truth about men. And I just kind of said, look, I think any woman in your shoes who did not have that father in your house that was negotiating with your mother on a daily basis, where you got 10,000 hours of training and watching two people who love each other figure it out. If you haven't seen that, you need to go and study men. I said, go find a book. And she's smart, so she's going to actually do this. I said, go find a book and read a book about men. Find a place where people will be honest with you about men. And then start the conversation off by knowing that all men are not the same. All men are not the same. Yeah, you got some guys on one end, all they see is the big butt and the smile and all this other stuff. That's fine. But I told her, I said, look, you're not, I said, look, here's your strength is not the big butt and the smile. You're not the fast girl. You're not the Instagram model. Don't go competing with the hoes. I know it seems like the hoes are winning, but the hoes are getting a lot of low quality traffic. If she goes on Instagram and shows her ass, yes, of course she's going to get 10,000 likes because men like ass. Of course she's going to get men in her DM because they all looking for something quick and dirty. But don't compete with that, because your strength is not your strength, nor do you want it to be. Your strength is that you are a classy woman. And a classy woman shouldn't be trying to compete with the assy woman. The classy woman shouldn't be competing with the assy woman. So the classy woman is like the Instagram model. Oh, sorry guys. Let me turn this off. Hold on. My phone rang, so let me shut it down. Okay, hold on. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Let me know if you can hear me okay. All right. So the point is that, the Instagram model, I said she's like Walmart. Walmart's gonna have a lot of customers that are looking to come in there and buy, like a $10 pair of drawers or an $8 pair of shoes. They're gonna get lots of volume for low quality customers. But Bloomingdale's, I said, you're Bloomingdale's. If Bloomingdale's is across the street from Walmart, you're not gonna get 10,000 customers. You might only get 50. But the difference is that you're not going to have customers coming in looking for a $10 pair of socks. You'll have people coming in prepared to spend $8,000 on a diamond ring or $20,000 on a new Rolex. And if Bloomingdale's gets jealous of Walmart, and if Bloomingdale starts trying to compete with Walmart, if Bloomingdale starts saying, well, Walmart had 10,000 customers come in this month and we only had 200, we're losing, then Bloomingdale's is going to lose because Bloomingdale's is going to try to become something that it's not. And I think that little things like that about how men, even high value men, put women in categories, and you might like them all. Sometimes people, I'm a shopper, and I don't shop a lot, but I've shopped at Walmart and I've shopped at Bloomingdale's. And when I go into Walmart, I expect to spend $10, $20, maybe no more than $100. But if I go to Bloomingdale's, I got my big credit card. I got my gold card out because I know that I'm going to have to buy something that's going to be kind of expensive. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? So the way you position yourself in the world is going to shape the expectations of everybody that you interact with. And if this is new information or nuanced information, or if this helps you see things in a different way, this is really the stuff that your father should have told you. But unfortunately, for 76% of us, your father was never there to give you that information. I don't care if your dad lived down the street and you saw him every weekend. That's not the same as having your father in your house every morning, waking you up to go to school. It ain't the same thing. So I would just encourage anybody, whatever you're looking for, come up with your own formula for success. Internet gurus can do a little bit. They can help you in certain ways. But remember, internet gurus many of them are trying to get their traffic. They're trying to fit into a niche. They're trying to get the people what they want. So a lot of times, if you look at certain gurus who give a certain type of advice about relationship or finances or whatever, they usually stick to one category. That's why sometimes my channels don't grow. I mean, I have about 1 million subscribers on different channels, but I could probably have 2 million if I stuck to one thing. I get it all the time. I hear it all the time when people say, "Boys, if you just talked about finances, your stuff would just blow up." Well, I don't care about that. I don't care about that shit. I've made millions of dollars. I don't need to keep making more money. That's not a big deal to me, right? My goal is to be a scholar and to be a thinker. And as a scholar and a thinker, I'm always thinking about solutions. I'm a problem solver. That I'm a mathematician. So as a thinker, a scholar, and a problem solver, first of all, I can't dumb down. I can't be ignorant. I can, it's hard. I don't want to be. We have enough ignorant black men. We flood the market in that shit. So I don't need to add to that. And also, I'm not really trying. I can't really be popular. I was never even popular in school. I just want to be correct. That's it. I want to be correct. And if I sound crazy to you, then I'm not your guy. Either you're not ready to hear me, or your culture is different from my culture. Your people are different from my people. I get that. That's okay. But for the people who get it, who are really trying to solve this damn thing, for the people who love the black woman no matter what, for the people who love the black man no matter what, for people who love these black babies who run around here, they ain't got no daddy no matter what. Those are my people. My people are the ones who really want to solve this problem, because black people, you are in a vicious, ugly cycle. You're in a vicious cycle. The energy's crazy. The energy's negative. You're looking up to all the wrong people. How the fuck are you going to be looking at somebody as your hero when they got 8 babies mamas and kids everywhere? And they ain't even taking care of none of them. Like, how the hell is that something you look up to and you expecting your families to be reunited? No, sometimes you're looking up to toxicity. You have drug addicted hip hop artists who don't give a damn about nothing but themselves, who are teaching you that the only way to be successful in this world is to be a selfish, arrogant asshole. So that means that you don't respect women. Why would you respect a woman? You should just pee on them, right? Like R. Kelly. You don't care about kids. Well, only a simp will go and date a woman with children. Fuck children. Children ain't shit. Like, what the hell? Who raised you, man? What pack of wolves or animals in the forest raised you? If you don't want to be with the woman with kids, then you can't. If you ain't got enough money to take care of a kid, then don't. Then just say that. Just walk away, right? But why in the hell are you claiming to be pro-black when you are crapping all over the future of the black community? So, I mean, you really sound like Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger also wanted to abort black babies. She wanted black babies to disappear. She hated black babies. Those little motherfuckers ain't gonna. Joe Biden hated black babies. That's why he wanted to send your daddy and your uncle to prison. Right? So what I would say to you is stop that, man. Like, can't you just be who you want to be? Be who you want to be. And express yourself in the way that works best for you without adding to the type of toxicity that's already holding us back. I mean, why do I gotta, why would you applaud? There's a lot of messed up people in our community. Let's just be clear. There's a lot of messed up people in our community. A lot. There's a lot of messed up women who really probably will die alone, unfortunately. I hate to say it, but it's true. There are a lot of messed up men in our community who are going to die, from a drug overdose at 42 years old, or they're going to die of a heart attack when they're 46 because they didn't go to the doctor or whatever. Is there some way to share your perspective and to be supportive without necessarily being nasty about it? You have a lot of men, went to prison. I met a brother that went to prison 10 years. I met several brothers this week alone who did over 10 years in prison. And that is the most traumatic experience that a human being can ever go through. And every single time I talked to them, my heart just sank, and I felt for these brothers, and I could tell that there were huge psychological prices that they had to pay for what they did. And I think the worst thing to do would be for me to be like, "Oh, you a raggedy motherfucker! You ain't gonna get no job. Look, you went to the joint. You stupid." You stupid, man. How you went and got wrapped up in drugs? Like, what's wrong with you, man? You out here thugging, you big idiot. Like, no, that wouldn't be right. You gonna die alone because you done messed up and went to the joint. No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that because people make mistakes. So I think if it's wrong for me to do that to the brother who just got out of jail, it's also wrong to do that to a single mother who might also feel like she just got out of jail because she made the mistake of having the baby with the wrong person. The world is going to punish her enough. I don't think you have to add to it. I think that you can certainly have the right to say, I prefer to date a woman that doesn't have children. I personally, would say that you may want to reconsider that because I never ever thought about whether a woman had kids when I chose to date. I had options. There were plenty of options available. When you have money, there's always options. And I found that number one, I care more about how you treated me than I cared about whether you had kids. Number two, I would care about what kind of kids you have. If your kids are raggedy and mean and undisciplined, I didn't want to be around that. But if your kids were decent and clean and intelligent and respectful, then we could work with that. And then number three, you might actually find in many cases that women that have children have an extra element of empathy and responsibility, because motherhood brings out womanhood in many cases for some women. Motherhood actually gives a woman another superpower, which is the ability to truly care about somebody other than yourself. So when I was single, I met the young hot girls that didn't have kids, that were out at the club or whatever. There was something about it that wasn't as interesting to me. I'm not saying that they were all bad. I'm just saying that, that the single mothers would be kind of cool, like, because you can just chill out and watch a Netflix movie, and she was appreciative of things that you did to be supportive, and I like that. So I would say this. So if I was talking to the women, I would say, number one, who you have around your kids is very important. A lot of men will harm your children, so you don't let any men around them. I think you already know that. But then number two, I think the right kind of men. I think there are a lot of really high quality men who would embrace the idea of being with a single mom. because I tell you what, I got married in 2000 and a year ago. We were celebrating our 1 year wedding anniversary, and I know my wife for a long time. We dated 5 years, and I'm gonna tell you, raising the kids is like the greatest experience ever. Like I love those kids. We have fun together. Um, they're my buddies, and I think it makes me sad when we have a million young men who have been trained to almost be embarrassed if they were to fall in love with a woman who had children. They nothing embarrassing about that, man. And again, if a lot of you look at your own childhood experiences, most of the people in this room right now, many of y'all didn't have two parents in the household. So again, if you hate single mothers, but you had a single mother that raised you, that right there means you probably need to do some therapy to figure out what's going on there, where that anger is coming from. And then two, a lot of you wouldn't be who you are if you did not have some sort of male that stepped up for you, whether that was the football coach or the track coach or the guy at the local community center. So for Black people to succeed, our men have to step up, and I'm calling out to the real men, the little boys. When I see little boys in the chat, just so you know, don't say anything, don't say too much, because I'll have to block you, I have to put you out, and it's okay. I will ban you and you'll never be able to come back. You should go to another channel if that's where you're more comfortable. But at the end of the day, we need the real men to step up and be there for these kids. Because here's the other thing too: if you're only raising your kids right and you're ignoring all the little kids out here that ain't got no love and no support because they got a single mother, and all the men are saying that only a sucker would date a single mother, only a simp will be with a single mother, do you know what those kids are going to do? They're going to get pissed off. They're going to get bitter. They're going to hate you. And when they get about 18 years old, he going to show up with a wife beater. He going to find your little daughter you raised out in the suburbs and protected. And he's either going to impregnate her and abandon her kids, or he's going to shoot your son in the fucking head. Like, that's the kind of thing that happens. You got to understand that Black people are in this boat together. It ain't just how you raise your kids. It's how we raise all of our children. If we don't embrace the village will sink. The village will die. So it ain't just about you getting your little piece of ass or you having your little dating experience and you doing this and doing that. No, it's bigger than that, bro. It's much bigger than that. As a man, on some level, the real men in the building, I'm talking to the real men in the building, not the little boys, not the boys who just want some ass or whatever. Maybe you're in your 20s. If that's how you are, that's cool. I'm talking to the grown-ups here. We got to be responsible for every child in this community, especially the kids that ain't got no daddies, especially the kids that don't have parents, because those are the kids that grow up and get poisoned by the world. That little kid that nobody's talking to because you so busy chasing ass or you so busy avoiding single moms that you didn't even take a minute to mentor this kid. He's going to be listening to the radio every day. He's going to be watching his favorite rappers, and he's going to grow up thinking, okay, if I want to be a man, I got to have a strap. I got to go out here and have sex with women. I got to go out here and do stupid stuff. Next thing you know, your kids are affected by those kids. Just like the movie Us. What was that movie? Jordan Peele, best director in Hollywood, did that movie called Us. And the movie was interesting because that's what Us was, one of the many interpretations of the movie Us. I mean, it was brilliant. There's so many different interpretations of that film. Everybody should see it. And in the movie Us, what was the narrative? You had a family that was a perfect little two-parent household, and everything was perfect and wonderful. And they had clones just like them who were raised in the middle of toxic chaos, and the clones came back to kill them. That's your community in a nutshell. You got the Black folks that are doing great and dandy and wonderful, and you got the people that are dealing with insane amounts of trauma. And it ain't just about financial trauma. They're going through all kinds of unimaginable experiences, and then they're going to come into the world with all that toxic baggage, and I promise you it will affect you. When my homeboy Greg Wilkins in Louisville, Kentucky, got shot in the head in 1996 on the street not too far from where Breonna Taylor got murdered, the guy that killed him probably didn't grow up in a model home. The guy that shot him in the head in front of his daughter, I talk to his daughter every week. We both mourn my homeboy every week. She misses her father every week. I say I miss him too. The guy that shot him, I bet you that if you look in his past, he probably did not have a father that spent enough time with him to say, son, that's not how you go out. That's not how you do other black people. He probably didn't have that. So when he shot my best friend in the head in front of his daughter, he wasn't thinking nothing about the black community. So some of y'all, by abandoning your kids, are letting them be raised to be little Klansmen in blackface, because there ain't no difference between a KKK and a killing ass nigga. They're kind of the same thing. The only difference is that the black man that shoots other black people can infiltrate a little bit better. You see a white boy showing up with an AR-15, everybody's gonna get nervous. Everybody's gonna respond. But when a black man shows up, you let him in, assuming that he is also pro-black like you, but that's not the case. We have a lot of anti-black people, and those are the ones who become the biggest threat. So you've got to be thoughtful about how you pour into the village. So that's what I think about. These are all the thoughts. I know I said a lot today, and I know some people ain't gonna get it. Some people ain't gonna like it. Some people gonna be like, "Boyce is just hating me. Why is he doing this? That's just me." Well, that's my job. My job is not, I'm an OG now. I'm 51, and as an OG, your job is to be. Sometimes your job is to be the biggest hater in the world. I'm not one of your little friends. I'm not one in the get along gang. I'm not trying to be. I'm not trying to fit into no bullshit. I'm not trying to fit into the narrative of your favorite rapper. I know more rappers than you. I know a ton of them. And believe me, half of them don't like my ass, because at the end of the day, black people, if you don't learn to grow up, if you don't command that your men grow up, then your community will always fail, and the white man will always have his foot right on your neck. And he's going to chop off your testicles to go with it. Next thing you know, your kids are getting raised in some household where their mama's boyfriend is touching them in the middle of the night because you didn't know how to grow up and become a man and protect your own. So grow up out of that nonsense. It's stupid. It's silly. So anyway, guys, let me get out of here. Hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, my website is boycewatkins.com. If you want to find out more of the stuff, I actually put together something on economics called the Economic Survival Plan. It's all about economics in tough times. You guys know there's a recession coming. And so I put this all together as a series of lectures. You guys know my PhD's in finance. So I put together a series of lectures on these topics to kind of help you prepare for that. So feel free to go to boycewatkins.com if you'd like to take a look. So thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff. I love you. I'll see you soon. Have a good day. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.